right, so as you know, shifting your business is going to be your number one priority in 2020. Being able to pivot your restaurant business is either going to make you or break you. And today on the show, we're going to find out what that means. My name is Paul Barron, and I'm the host here of the Barron Report. And with me today, I've got our guest, Rebecca Styn from Room 33. Rebecca, you're coming out of Pennsylvania for us. Thanks so much for being on.
I am. Thanks, Paul, for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so let's learn a little bit about Room 33. It's a speakeasy in Philadelphia area. Tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
Nope, it's in Erie, Pennsylvania. So in the northwest corner of PA. We're about,
all right.
Erie's about an hour and a half from Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh area. So we're like right in the middle of the mark on the lake, which is wonderful when the weather's great. So we opened a speakeasy restaurant back in 2017 on New Year's Eve. That was when we launched it, was New Year's Eve, and that was an interesting launch. So we've been around a little over 2 years now, and it's a full service restaurant with cocktails, live music, full menu. We do a lot of events, and it's Prohibition inspired because the end of Prohibition was 1933. So that's the name.
Gotcha. Room 33. I like it. All right. So obviously you guys have been hit what could be considered the hardest in the industry with the bar business, events all being affected by the pandemic. Talk to me a little bit about how you have pivoted your business in being able to deal with this.
Sure. So prior to the mandate of closing down the bars and restaurants, we operated 90% of our sales were bar sales. I mean, we were known for our cocktails and in that particular market. So I did not want to shut down completely. And I opted, we had a really great chef on our team and a kitchen team. So I thought that maybe we could ramp up, the food service end of things. And I knew it would be a challenge, but that's what we decided to do. So when we first started, we kept everybody on. We have a team of 9 to 10 people, but about 2 weeks in, we had to cut that back probably about 40%. And then even though we cut that back, we kept our main team on. And since then, we've been able to ramp up our takeout and delivery, probably 20 to 30% markup since when we closed.
So you increased your food service sales to offset that. The pivot in terms of the guest that you guys deal with, the customers, what was their feedback on your shift over to food and not so much bar anymore?
Yes, it's been interesting because our base has actually increased. We found that there was a market out there that we weren't even tapping into, and we still are. Every day I post something different on social media, and I find people that still have no idea who we are, which is understandable depending on where you're located. But the feedback overall has been pretty well received. Obviously, we're going to do some things that are different than what we have typically done. So it's for those that haven't been with us from the beginning, there's always a little bit of confusion. I mean, when you pivot something so drastically in a short amount of time, you just kind of have to adapt and overcome as you move along. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the bar industry, because that's been one of the hardest hits, and it's also one of the categories in terms of hospitality that many experts are considering could be the last to come out of this.
Sure.
What are your thoughts? And let me ask you, in Philadelphia, because I know here in Florida or in Pennsylvania, I know here in Florida, they've kind of relaxed the laws a little bit to where restaurants can include cocktails in their to-go menus. I also saw some suppliers now that are really ramping up their containers for cocktail delivery. What are your thoughts on that? And can you guys do that in Pennsylvania?
Okay, so yes, I think it's an amazing idea and concept. We currently cannot do that in Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth, and we are under the control of the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. So everything is still a statewide run operation. At this point, though, we've gotten a little creative in the sense that we are creating the cocktail mixes without the alcohol, and we're bottling them up to go. So we're hoping that obviously if this goes on for a really long time, or we find that, we find another stretch of it in the coming winter, winter of next year, or December, January, that hopefully they'll find ways to help us be able to work forward in these sort of times. So I
like the fact that you guys are putting cocktail packages together, because that's kind of really for a home cocktail maker, that's usually the big breaking point on being able to make a great cocktail at home.
Yes.
Is you don't have that little bit of Cointreau or Pinot Lillet, for that Vesper. So if I just had enough for that, I'd be able to make it.
Right.
So, but my question is, in terms of the kind of packages that you guys are doing around your cocktail kits, explain one for me. Give me an example of how one would be delivered to my house.
So in this regard, because we cannot actually put alcohol in them, we are making up syrups and sweeteners that are all natural, actually, that actually mimic what you would find with something else, right? So
okay.
We have the bee's knees. So we use like an agave syrup, and then we use fresh basil, and we use fresh blackberries, and we muddle it, and we make a syrup out of that, and we have the mixture, and then we just tell people what type of vodka or how much vodka to pair it with. So
Perfect.
it's still really unique and nice, and it takes the work out of it. And each of these bottles makes about 2 to 3 cocktails, and we sell them for a really low price. So
very nice. All right, so I can get that added on to my my regular food to go.
Yes.
Have you found that takeout has been higher, third party or delivery do you guys do your own delivery?
When we first started, we were doing some delivery on our own, and it's easier because one of the things with Pennsylvania, we applied for an extended wine permit so we can sell wine bottles to go, but the third-party takeout services cannot deliver those in Pennsylvania. So as long as we were personally delivering them, we could add the wine bottles, but with with like Grubhub and
right.
other places like that, we can't do that. So it's kind of a back and forth. We did it at the beginning. We stopped doing it because Grubhub has actually ramped up for us quite a bit, and they've actually been although they're probably the most costly of all the services, they've been the most efficient in helping us ramp up in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Have they given you any breaks in terms of the cost that they're taking as part of the deal?
Not at this point. I understand that they did that. Perhaps they launched that idea early on, but I haven't seen the results of that. So
yeah, for any kind of discounting.
Right.
Interesting. All right, Rebecca, let's talk a little bit about kind of going forward once we're past this crisis. How would your bar kind of handle this? Because obviously proximity and space condensing, things of that nature occur a lot in speakeasies. How are you guys going to be able to kind of get past this on the other side?
Sure. It's going to be a challenge for sure. One of the nice things is that our particular location, we have a lot of square footage in our bar. We're probably about 4,000 square feet, although I've been to many more intimate style speakeasy bars throughout the country, and they are much smaller. And I know that for them, it's probably going to be even more challenging. The differentiation, like our capacity is about 150 standing, 75 seated. So we're looking, if really everybody is talking about doing the 50% cutoff, we're looking at like 35 patrons in our bar at a time, right? Close to 40. So it'll be, it's really, the other concern is, the whole design of going out to a restaurant or a bar is to be able to be intimate and chatty with each other. And what does that look like if you're wearing a mask or you have to sit X feet apart? So I have, those are all the things that are going through my head right now, trying to figure out how we can address that.
Yeah, I just foresee, I have bad dreams at night where I feel like you're in a prison and you have that glass in between you and your martinis next to you and you're talking to your friend.
Yeah, so you can pick up the phone and talk through the phone and the glass. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna go into a couple of tips because I like the fact that you guys spun a mostly bar menu and really took advantage of it from a food side of it. There may be a lot of bars out there that are really looking at going this direction. What kind of challenges did you face in being able to do that?
It was really just being able operationally, right? So we started, our original hours didn't start until 4:00 in the afternoon, but in order to be able to increase our food sales, we obviously had to extend our hours. So we opened up earlier, starting at 11, and we're now closing earlier for obvious reasons too, because nobody's going to come in late at night, unless it's a minimal order. So although we've extended our hours, we now have our team working in different shifts that they weren't necessarily accustomed to. And our food ordering is so much different now. We're trying to figure out and plan in real time versus when you first launch this, obviously there's a guesstimate to everything that you do when you launch any business, but you have some idea on what you need to prepare for. And then over time, that helps you determine what you need to order week to week. But at this point, we're all just playing, it's all become new rules and we're just figuring it out as we go along.
This, of course, has also shifted your supplier chain partnerships, because now you're leaning more toward food as opposed to the alcohol side. What kind of reception have you seen from the distributors? And I mean, because you're almost like a new restaurant starting up.
Sure. We have a couple of distributors. Our main one, though, it's been wonderful to work with them, and they obviously love it because now we're increasing, what the product that we're getting from them on a weekly basis. But they've been, and also at that time too, like they lost a lot of their own, their own patrons and stuff, not patrons, but customers. So, they're looking to make it up where they can along the way. So it's really been a benefit for us and them collectively.
Was there any major shift in the menu itself? Did you shrink it?
Yes.
Were you finding certain things that worked better? What was kind of your approach?
Yes. So we prided ourselves on everything being fresh all the time. When we turned to this particular model, we had to incorporate some more standard things to see what worked, right? Like chicken, even though we're doing chicken wings, we're still trying to do a gourmet element to them or something a little more unique, but we're probably standardizing the menu more to things that you would typically see in a bar. But we're just trying to just trying to pivot that design a little bit so it looks a little bit more gourmet. Like we're doing hamburgers, but we're doing coffee rubbed hamburgers with goat cheese and elderberry sauce and stuff like that. So where we can be creative is in the accent, but the actual product we know at least will last for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, this has been great having you on. I love the tips. And for bar owners out there, this is a great potential to kind of shift your business into maybe something that can help extend you past this crisis so we can get back to doing what we do best, having some alcohol.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd just like to add really quick, for those that were in the business of having music, which we had on every weekend, we had live music every weekend, we've done some virtual events with musicians that still have gotten some draw and some support on both ends. So it keeps the business out there, but it supports the musicians at the same time.
I like that. Nice touch. Perfect. Rebecca, thanks so much for stopping in on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, so all of you are listening out there on iTunes, Spotify, maybe it's Google Podcasts, Stitcher. Subscribe. Don't just listen in and lurk right here on the Barron Report. Actually subscribe to the show. That's how we learn a little bit about you, and it's also how we find out what you want to hear or see here on the Barron Report. If you're watching this on YouTube or over on our website at Foodable TV, make sure and smash the like button and subscribe as well. That's another way we get great feedback from our audience. And if you have an idea, make sure to send it to producer@foodabletv.com. We're going to continue our coverage on how the restaurant industry and the bar industry is on a set for recovery in 2020. Stay tuned right here for our next episode. We'll catch you soon.